This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Waiting in the background, waiting for the light to come on. Carrying the chainsaw without time and words. Waiting in the background, waiting for the light to come on. Left alone, you call back, I know you promised me.
The following program is rated MA-LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Finally, show with the balls to call it like it is. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Countdown to audio torture.
The Rated R Safety Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Let the eardrum pain begin.
Forget the corporate bullshit. This is the Rated R Safety Show with your host, Dr. It doesn't matter who the host is.
Oh, you know it. Yep. It's another fabulous day of the week. Today is Thursday, March the 30th of 2023, day number 89th of the year, and only 276 days to go, so don't worry about that. Yes, we are here on this terrific Thursday, directly off of Whip 'em Out Wednesdays, and here to do the thing that we do on a Thursday. And listen, that shit that people call this Friday Junior, I don't get it, but whatever. That's the way that it goes. Anyways, we are broadcasting from the Safety FM studios in Orlando, Florida, and coming across the multiverse known as Safety FM, and actually hanging out with our friends and colleagues over there. Radio Big. Yep, hanging out with a Radio Big, because that's what we do. We've been doing big style over here as we are hanging out and all that kind of fun stuff. So how has the last 23 hours and change been? Or depending on how long you hung out with me yesterday, it could be the last 21 hours and change. So I have to tell you, a lot of kind of stuff going on. I'm already working on our event that's taking place here in Orlando I almost said October. It's close enough. At the end of September the 27th, 28th, and 29th. We're calling that thing Conklin Fest. Yes, or Conklin Conference. I shouldn't call it Conklin Fest because that's probably something else. Conklin Conference coming into Orlando right after a little thing called Safety Day, but we'll discuss that a little bit more as we go on. But would love to see you there. I have actually working out all the fine line details of getting all the speakers working and all that kind of stuff. So we will have some more information coming your general direction. If not, I'm assuming I'll have something else by next week for you with that. Anyway, so if you have not hung out with us before, let's talk about what we do. We talk about safety in the news and safety. Some people like it, some people hate it, and some people just deal with it. So we kind of go from there. We bring in the professional broadcasters as they talk about everything that is going on inside of this multiverse of ours. We let you know what is going on with our main story, what is trending inside of the world, because all these things are important. And then we kind of come in, talk a little bit, and do all kinds of interesting stuff. And then you get to interact with the show if you want to by going to callinradio.com. Callinradio.com. And the reason why we use that, and let me explain, is because people go out there and they will do commenting on the social media aspect in, I guess, what they determine real time. But here's the problem. I don't look over there for a good period of time. So by the time that I catch up with what you agree, disagree, and all that other fun stuff, I have no idea what you're talking about. Where if you go into the call-in radio aspect, I can see it and know exactly what's going on with you as it's coming in. Video messaging, audio messaging, or just straight text messaging. So it's entirely up to you on what's going on there. Anyways, with that being said, let's talk real quick about what will be going on today, what was trending, and all that kind of fun stuff. So let's tell you what exactly will be on tap.
Here is what was trending. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, so here you go. Tech leaders say that it's time to tap the brakes on AI research, and Mexican authorities are on the hunt for an escaped tiger. Yeah, that's not a lie there. And okay, we lied. It's been developing in the Trump grand jury saga. We'll tell you a little bit more about that as we get swampy. Lionel Richie says that he's no longer lasts all night long. So, and Katy Perry is 5 weeks sober. So we can talk about all that kind of fun stuff if you want to do that. Succession star joins the cast of Deadpool 3, and Trevor Noah is hosting a new reality competition show in South Africa. We can talk about all that kind of fun stuff. But before we do that, why don't we get you involved with what the hell is going on inside of the world of the news as we bring in the professional broadcasters, because that's what they are. They are professional broadcasters, and I'm just some jackass behind a microphone doing the thing that I do. So with that being said, here's the news.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
NBC News Radio, I'm Mark Mayfield. Victims of this week's deadly school shooting in Nashville are being remembered. Mayor John Cooper and First Lady Jill Biden were among a group of mourners who attended Wednesday night's candlelight vigil at a public park in Tennessee's capital city. Cooper called Monday's massacre at the Covenant School our city's worst day. He praised first responders for their efforts in taking down the shooter and pushed for the community to come together. President Biden says democracies across the world are getting stronger, not weaker.
Our job is to keep building on our progress so we don't start heading in the wrong direction again.
The president kicked off a virtual democracy summit with heads of state by announcing a $690 million commitment to help advance democracy around the world. He added he's working with Congress to put nearly $6 billion over the next 3 years towards the effort. The funds are used to support free and independent media, fight corruption, bolster human rights, and other initiatives. An investigation is underway after 2 military helicopters crashed in Kentucky Wednesday night. Officials say it happened during a routine training mission near Fort Campbell. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear confirmed the crash on Twitter, adding that multiple fatalities were expected. Former Vice President Mike Pence is deciding how to respond to a judge's decision to have him testify about January the 6th, 2021. Brian Shook reports.
Speaking to reporters in Iowa, Pence said he's heading to Washington, D.C. to meet with his attorney to decide how to move forward with an appeal. Pence noted that he has nothing to hide and said he did his duty during the Capitol riot. I'm Brian Shook.
And baseball is coming back. The MLB is kicking off its opening day festivities with a full slate of games Thursday. Those include the Philadelphia Phillies at the Texas Rangers, Toronto Blue Jays at the St. Louis Cardinals, and the Chicago White Sox at the Houston Astros. The first 2 games begin at 1:05 Eastern, which features the Atlanta Braves versus the Washington Nationals and the San Francisco Giants against the New York Yankees. You are listening to the latest from NBC News Radio.
Safety never sounded so terrible. Rated R Safety Show.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. The US is dismissing China's threats of retaliation over a likely meeting between the House Speaker and Taiwan's president. Pope Francis is in hospital in Rome with a respiratory infection. The UK government setting out its plans to reach net zero emissions by 2050. And the Delhi government is calling an emergency meeting after a sharp spike in COVID-19 cases.
Rated R Safety Show. Sarcastic? Never.
A new poll is showing mixed signals on former President Donald Trump, who's facing multiple state and federal investigations. Lisa G. reports.
According to a new Quinnipiac University poll, 57% of Americans think if criminal charges are filed against Trump, Trump should be disqualified from running again for president, while 38% say it shouldn't matter. Meantime, 75% of Republicans polled say if criminal charges are filed, it should not disqualify Trump from running, while 23% think it should. The poll also showed when Trump is matched up against Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who's widely believed to be eyeing a run for president, Trump has a double-digit lead. Lisa G., Connecticut.
The Senate has voted to end the nation's COVID-19 emergency declaration. On Wednesday, the GOP-led resolution passed 68-23 to end the national emergency that's been in place since 2020. The bill is now on the way to the desk of President Biden. The president, who threatened to veto the measure twice in months past, now says he'll sign the bill, as the administration was already planning to end the emergency declaration on May 11th. A bipartisan group of senators is pushing legislation to claw back compensation from executives after bank failures. Lisa Taylor has more.
Democratic Senators Elizabeth Warren and Catherine Cortez Masto teamed up with Republican Senators Josh Hawley and Mike Braun to introduce the bill today. It would allow the FDIC to recoup up to 5 years' worth of compensation from executives at any bank that requires a federal takeover. The move follows the recent failures of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank, which officials say was the result of failure by management. Warren said bank executives need to bear the cost of failure. I'm Lisa Taylor.
And Disney is laying off several high-ranking employees in its first round of job cuts. The entertainment giant is planning on reducing its workforce by 3% or 7,000 jobs. The latest layoffs include several top employees at Marvel Entertainment, Hulu, Freeform, and according to the Wall Street Journal, the entire Disney Metaverse division. Mark Mayfield, NBC News Radio.
We at Safety FM are not responsible for what this idiot behind the microphone is saying. He is trying to be entertaining. Rated R Safety Show.
Do you have a claim and not sure where to turn? Coastal Claim Consultants are professionally licensed and bonded public insurance adjusters employed exclusively by you, the policyholder, to represent you after sustaining an insured loss. They assist policyholders in all aspects of processing the claim, working closely with the insured to provide the most equitable and timely settlement possible. They will provide you with comprehensive service, anything from inspecting the loss site, analyzing damages, compiling claim support data, reviewing applicable coverages, assessing replacement costs of damages, and negotiating your settlement. The adjusters at Coastal Claim Consultants will evaluate your claim for no upfront cost whatsoever. Coastal Claim Consultants' fee is based on contingency contracts and are paid when the insurance company sends you a check and it's in your possession. Coastal Claim Consultants are licensed to assist you in the following states: Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, Georgia, and South Carolina. For more information, go to coastal-cc.com. That's coastal-cc.com. For more information, lighting the way to recovery. Coastal Claim Consultants.
Olivia from Washington. Laid off and trying to keep our little kids from realizing that mommy and daddy haven't eaten in a while.
Roger from California. I'm grateful we could afford our son's surgery. I'm nervous that now we can't really afford food.
Daniel from California. Choosing whether to pay the rent or pay to fix the car to get to work doesn't leave us with much at all. Now we can't even pay for meals.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Keisha from South Carolina. I've been skipping meals so my 2 kids can eat, but filling up on water doesn't really work.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Have you ever wanted to start live streaming and were not sure how to do it? You can start live streaming up to 40 social media platforms all at one time for as little as nada. It's going to cost you your time. That is what it's going to cost. You can pre-record, you can live stream, you can do a multitude of things. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to safetyfm.com/one. That's safetyfm.com, ONE.
As your safety training old, stale, and hackneyed, safety trainers celebrating and warped version. How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and it's not standardized baloney from 25 years ago. Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Polzel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
Here is another bit for our competitors to copy. Rated R Safety Show.
Oh, there you go. 15 minutes past the top of the hour as, things are going on inside of the world. Yes, that's exactly what's going on. So let's start talking right away. Let's talk about the shit list because that's what we do. That's what we do around this time. Dozens of tech entrepreneurs and data scientists have signed an open letter calling for artificial intelligence companies to put 6 months pause on the development of their technology, claiming that out-of-control AI will wreak havoc on global society. The letter was published by the Future of Life organization, which is backed financially by Elon Musk, who is one of the primary signers. AI labs and independent experts should use this pause to jointly develop and implement a set of shared safety protocols for advanced AI design and development that are rigorously audited and overseen by independent outside experts. They write. Other co-signers include Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak and former Democratic president candidate Andrew Yang. So this is all coming from Future Life. This is information from Future Life in regards to what's going on. So take a listen to that. So matter of fact, before I move on, what do you think about this? Like seriously, what do you think about this in regards of AI? Because let's talk about some of these AI stuff that you're seeing in regards of all these changes. Because, listen, if you take a look at some of these chat bots that are out there, some of these things that seem to change everything, some of these things that are seem to be advanced technology that are able to ace the bar, depending on the state, of course. There are some things to think about as we are going forward. So, do you agree with the pause? Do you think that some people will say, we'll take a pause for the cause, but other people will say, nah, I am not waiting.
You are listening to a radio god. What? This has to be an error. That host is not a radio god. Anyways, this is the Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
So take a listen to this. Two men last year were accused of rigging a fishing competition by loading up their catches with lead weights, other dead fish to make home a hefty cash prize in the Lake Erie Walleye Trail Tournament. Now the two men, Jacob Rudman and Chase Kaminsky, have pleaded guilty to cheating and unlawful ownership of wildlife animal charges. They also lose their fishing licenses for 3 years. Oh, no, not 3 years. As part of the deal, Kaminsky is surrendering a $100,000 bass boat, and they will be sentenced next month, which will likely be a brief probation and the opportunity to expunge their record. This is via NBC News. Now, if you remember correctly, what it was they had won an award of some kind of prize, but they were putting lead inside of the fishes that were the Grandioso fish winners. So yeah, that's an issue. You know, you got caught cheating, and it's a little bit more difficult. And I mean, I'm not going to say allegedly, not if you are turning yourself in. It's not an alleged incident. But I know how the people are around here, so who knows what I have to say.
Who truly cares what this guy has to say? Who gives a shit? Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, so let's talk about it real quick. A full-grown 5-year-old tiger named Baluma has escaped its home in Mexico. Mexican law permits the private ownership of Bengal tigers, and the owners apparently had their own paperwork in line. The Associated Press reports that police have circulated a picture of the tiger to help locals identify if they see it. Hold on. Help locals identify if they see it. Is there that many tigers hanging out? I mean, I'm just asking. Are there so many? Oh, look at this. So many tigers on the loose in Mexico that people need to be identifying it. I mean, this is according to the Associated Press. Yes, some things that go on because, you know, some things that happen from time to time. Just one of those weird things. You have a tiger that's roaming the streets, but do you have multiple tigers that are roaming? Because that becomes a thing. Anyways, Gen Z appears to be learning a lesson from millennial counterparts ditching smartphones for simpler feature phones that include basic features like GPS or setting up Wi-Fi hotspots without ever the glowing giant touchscreen. Manufacturer HMD says their flip phones sales were up in 2022 as tens of thousands were sold every month. One analyst says the relatively archaic technology could see a 5% increase over the next few years. Now, let's talk about this. Have you given any serious thought of ditching your smartphone to actually can you really say actually updating? Because it's not really an update. You would actually be downgrading to a flip phone. Would you consider getting a flip phone? I mean, I've seen all kinds of weird things where people will turn the screen black and get rid of some other stuff. But that's it. That's all they do. Anyway, so I don't know. Think about that. Anyways, researchers from the University of Texas, Austin believe they have uncovered a new species of beaver in their fossil collection, which they have named after the popular gas station chain, Buc-ee's, which sports a beaver mascot. The new species dubbed, whatever. We'll just call it Buc-ee's. The research team believes that the species would have looked similar to the modern-day North American beaver, but was 30% bigger. Can you imagine that thing? Archaeologists believe that the bear-sized beavers once roamed North America during the last ice ages, according to Science Tech Daily. Just so you know. I don't know. I mean, I just tell you what's going on as I get it in real time. Anyways, take a listen to this. President Joe Biden is expected to call a new round of regulations affecting mid-sized banks following the collapse of two institutions earlier this month. The new capital and liquidity requirements would apply to banks holding between $100 billion and $250 billion in assets. Meanwhile, the White House is also toying with charging the FDIC rules to cover more than $250,000, but that would likely require Congress to act. This is according to the Wall Street Journal. So there you go. There you go. So take a listen to this. The grand jury hearing of the case against former President Donald Trump won't convene again. Are you ready for this? Until April the 24th. I thought he was getting arrested last week. Wasn't that the rumors? But that just kind of goes to show you that you can't believe the press. Oh, did I just say that out loud? Yeah, it sounded that way. Anyways, let's do something a little bit more exciting. Let's talk real quick with John Smalls with what the hell is going on with the actual market beat.
Here's the Market Beat Minute for Thursday, March 30th, brought to you by GenesisGoldIRA.com. Equity markets rebounded strongly Wednesday as fear of the Fed was overcome by optimism for earnings growth later in the year. The move was led by tech stocks like Apple and Amazon, which gained 2% and 3% respectively. The S&P 500 advanced about 1.5% at the day's high, closing near the high and just shy of a 2-week high. If the market can advance again and set a new high, it will open the door for a more significant move. The risk is that resistance for the broad market is not far above. The 4,100 level has been significant resistance multiple times, and there's reason to believe it will again. The PCE price index is due out Friday and is expected to confirm the Fed's stance. This means investors should expect at least one more interest rate hike and for economic pressure to mount. You can get the inside track from Wall Street's brightest minds delivered directly to your inbox every day at marketbeatminute.com.
Okay, thank you, John Smalls, for the information right there on what is going on. Let me talk real quick about the things that I was able to find on my neck of the woods. The Dow added about 323 points to close at 32,717 on Wednesday. The S&P added about 56 points to close at 4,027, and the NASDAQ added about 210 points to close at 11,926. West Texas Intermediate closed at $72 a barrel, and Brent crude was at $77 a barrel. The national average price of a gallon of gas was $3.46, meaning that it went up by almost 3 cents. Bitcoin ticked up on Wednesday, trading just shy of $28,500. There was more than 3,450 flights delayed within, into, and out of the United States on Wednesday, and that was actually about 100 cancellations. So look at that. It cut it by half. So now when we had 7,000 and change the day before, now 3,450 doesn't sound so bad. I mean, think about that. Anyways, Friday night's Mega Million drawing will be for $355 million jackpot or a $187.6 million payout. So there you go. What do you think? A lot of stuff there. That is for sure as we are talking. I mean, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I look at these things and I go, do you play? Do you not play? Do you not want to play? I mean, it's entirely up to you. Anyways, let's get into some other stuff that's going on inside of this world because there is a lot of things going on. Take a listen to this. A Democratic senator is introducing a bill designed to make flying safer for passengers and the air crews.
The violence has to stop. 4 years ago, there were about 150 investigations into air rage incidents. Last year, there were 831.
Rhode Island lawmaker Jack Reed stood with airline workers Wednesday as he talked about the provisions of the bill. The main goal is to establishing a no-fly list administered by TSA for passengers that become violent on flights. While anger about mask mandates may have been the cause of the initial increase, Reed noted that the mandate ended last year, and yet incidents continue. Actions like trying to hurt crew members, open aircraft doors, are dangerous in any setting, but especially on board an airplane. Senator Jack Reed talks about the unacceptable actions on board the commercial flights.
That's have nothing to do with the recent incidents of people trying to open aircraft doors mid-flight or stab crew members with food utensils. These actions would be shocking and unacceptable in any setting.
No shit. I mean, can you imagine trying to get stabbed with a utensil? I mean, I don't know if you ever watch any of those videos of people losing it on a plane. And I mean, people being tied down and all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, I don't know. People just seem to not love flying anymore in regards to what's going on. Take a listen to this. A 62-year-old man is now free after serving 7.5 years in prison for a 2014 armed robbery in East Point 7-Eleven. Matt Cowell says that he is happy after being wrongfully convicted, but says that he is trying to adjust to life outside of prison.
It's been hard on me.
Macomb County prosecutor Peter Lucido requested his conviction and sentence to be vacated. Howell is the first person freed by the Office of Conviction Integrity Unit. Macomb County prosecutor Peter Lucido requested the conviction to be vacated. Take a listen.
It's unfortunate that our system does what it does. It's not a perfect system. Sometimes it's not just. And sometimes the victims, as well as the individuals who are the accused, don't get justice.
So here's my question. Is he going to sue the city? I mean, I'm just asking because, listen, he was in jail for 7.5 years. I mean, how do you do restitution there? That's going to be a question, of course. Anyways, let's take a look. What else? One man has been arrested in connection with a shooting on Monday evening of a 9.5-year-old and a 27-year-old woman on the east side of Detroit. 2 others will be sought in Detroit. Police Chief James White says that he thinks that they know where the second suspect is.
We are in need of help on the third suspect. So there's 3. We've got 1 in custody. We know where a second is, and the third is still out. We're asking for the community's help.
Sherry Judge was nearby the scene of Monday evening's double shooting.
I was actually over here yesterday, and I heard the gunshots, and I was ducking and stuff like that, but I didn't know where it was coming from.
She was ducking. I mean, that's what you heard there in regards to what was going on. Take a listen to this. Police in Wyoming have released a sketch of a suspect in the shooting of a death of an 18-year-old Kane Coronado from last November. Coronado was shot and killed while riding a bicycle on Indian Mounds Drive in Wyoming. Police Captain Timothy Poles says the sketch is the biggest lead so far.
Many of our typical investigative leads have not been fruitful to this point, and so we were able to make contact with an artist who was able to put together a composite sketch.
The suspect is a white man, skinny with a gray or light-colored beard and straggling hair. He was driving an older gray four-door sedan with hood damage. Wyoming Detective Mitch Beldon hopes that the sketch leads to the killer of the 18-year-old Kane Coronado.
Let's get some justice for Kane and for a person who was out there just enjoying a day that was decent and riding his bicycle and enjoying life.
So there you go. A lot of interesting stuff. I mean, by now, I'm sure the hood damage has been repaired. The car has been ditched. The guy has cut his hair. And now that you have this beard beard thing going on. Something's getting bleached, dyed, colored, whatever the hell you want to say, because that's what's probably going to be what happens next.
We at Safety FM are not responsible for what this idiot behind the microphone is saying. He is trying to be entertaining. Rated R Safety Show.
Anyways, a 6th grade student is charged with assaulting a 5-year-old child at Northview Public Schools bus this month. Kent County Prosecutor Chris Becker says the student was charged after his office reviewed the video of the attack on March the 9th.
We reviewed the video just like we do in any other case, reviewed all the reports, so this was treated just like any other case, be it adult or juvenile, in terms of making the charging decision that we did.
The victim father, Jermone Burrell, says that his son came home crying with a bruise on his head and told him that the students recorded an assault on video when he was being punched and suffocated, with the bus driver doing nothing. Burrell says that he is happy with the charges. Kent County Prosecutor Chris Becker says that the 6th grader is charged with the assault of a 5-year-old on the bus. Take a listen.
We can't send a juvenile to jail. We can't send a juvenile to prison. Very often, it's a probationary sentence. It's, for the very serious cases, we send them to juvenile detention lockdown facility.
I'm just trying to figure out what the hell's going to happen there, because that's an interesting one. And listen, I'm not saying, things should be prosecuted, but we're talking about a 6-year-old with a 5-year-old. And how the hell did the kid get suffocated? And how many students are we saying? Because it made it sound like there was multiple things going on at one time. That's for sure. It didn't make it sound like it was something simplistic. And I mean, I'm not ever saying that this is simple, but what happened? How was the bus driver supposed to stop? Like, were there people screaming? I mean, there's a lot of questions that one would have to answer before anything else can be said on this one. At least that's the way that I'm looking at it.
Safety in a way never heard of before. The Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Okay, so there you go. It is close enough to that time. It is 32 minutes past the top of the hour. So let's do that thing that we do around this time. What do we call that thing? What do we call it? I always forget.
Here is our main story on the Rated R Safety Show.
Storytelling and talking and hanging out, and there's so many things that we get to do through our lifetime that I sometimes tend to forget how important it is, some of the things that we have done to where we have gotten to. And listen, I'm not going to have a moment here for us to sit back and reminisce and sit back and go, oh, let's take a look at all the things that are going on and let's change the world the way that life goes and blah, 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 and all that kind of fun stuff. But let's talk real quick just in regards of things that have happened inside of your organization, things that have happened with you, things that have happened in regards of life, and maybe that's some of the aspects that we need to take a look at. Yesterday afternoon, evening, kind of that midpoint of the day, I was able to have a conversation with someone, and it was pretty interesting just being able to take a listen to what has been going on with them, their organization. They decided to get into their personal life, and hey, everybody has to do their own thing. But it was listening to the impacts that certain segments of life actually have and how they can change things for you depending on how you take a look at it. Now, I won't go into details in regards of what they were telling me, but it was interesting to hear that things that have actually occurred inside of the person's lifetime, inside of their workplace, and so on, has caused them to change the way that they look at their work, and now is guiding them down a totally different path than what they ever suspected to be doing as a career, as a work environment, and so on. And I sat back for a moment as this conversation is kind of going back and forth and really wanted to take a good listen to what was going on. Because sometimes we have that bad habit that we're just waiting for our opportunity to speak opposed to listening to what somebody has to say. And as I was taking a listen to what the person was deeming as their pain points, it was interesting to see that certain things that they believed that were going to be items that would resolve the problems in their life and resolve the problems inside of their workplace had led them to move forward to a different career path. And I looked at this and I go, how do we take this information back to our organizations and really change the stuff that's going on inside. Because I will tell you, I like going to conferences from time to time. I like going to workshops from time to time. But what I always have the issue with is that when you leave there and you have that emotional high and you come back, how do you change things inside of your workplace? Because listen, it is that moment of being excited, having those large frames of emotions in regards of how you're moving forward. But you're the only one if you didn't have multiple people go from your organization. And if you're at a huge organization, it becomes a little bit more difficult. It becomes a little bit different in regards on how some of these things happen. So when you get new information, bring it to your organization and try to change things, how do you do it? Because what I hate the most is hearing where people are excited about something and all of a sudden they come back and things are not that great. Things are not changing because people are not as excited about the information that you are bringing back as you are. And this happens in all aspects of our life. As I'm talking to the individual yesterday, and they're talking about how they're wanting to do a different career path going forward, I looked at it and go, how come their workplace was not able to use this as their advantage of this person being so excited? Some people would even deem it as being on fire, but not like physically being on fire, but being on fire about something, a subject matter where all of a sudden they want to move the organization. It's sometimes that we tend to forget how important it is when people are excited about something to take a listen to what's going on. And I'm not saying flavor of the week, I'm not saying flavor of the month, but it's one of these things that we need to start talking about how do we change these things? Are we able to encourage our people that are inside of the organization to not to want to go elsewhere? And we're not sitting here talking about loyalty with workers. We're not talking about loyalty with team members. We're talking about how can we continue to get them excited about changes that they're wanting to implement within the organization, changes they want to implement within their life. Because listen, let me explain something to you. The greatest thing that you can have is an employee that starts off at an entry-level position and they work their way up the ranks, especially if you have positions that they're looking forward to do as you're able to change them as you move forward. Think about that. And at the end of the day, the important part is work is just work. Look at it that way. Especially if you're on that end on where you're wanting to change something and nobody else is listening, work is just work. And fortunately or unfortunately, well, there are other positions out there if things are not working out the way that you want.
Oops! What did he just say?
We at Safety FM don't always agree with the viewpoints of our hosts and guests.
Now back to real safety talk on Safety FM.
Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to the home of real safety talk.
You are listening to Safety FM. We'll be right back.
Let's start using cutting-edge warp speed 5G technology with your cell phone. Let me tell you about my friends at mobilemobile.io. They have an ultra-fast 4G LTE and 5G network that covers 99% of Americans. So they've got you covered everywhere. Think about it for a moment. You have the opportunity to take a test drive for 10 days with unlimited talk, text, and premium data. What is premium data? Premium data is an allotment of a cellular data that you receive from a higher priority on the network. You won't get throttled like you will with some of those, well, non-brand service providers. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to mobilemobile.io. That's mobilemobile.io to start your 10-day free trial.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
My mother was always very active and independent, and she was familiar with her neighborhood. But one day, she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual. She wasn't even really sure where she was at.
It's important for you to talk to someone about it. I felt so much better after my son told me, "Mom, we'll figure it out."
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
This portion of the show has been sponsored by Private Internet Access, America's #1 virtual private network, or VPN. Even if you use incognito mode, internet service providers is storing your browser data and many times even selling it. But Private Internet Access, or PIA, can help you. PIA encrypts and reroutes your internet traffic through one of its own servers, hiding your data from your internet service provider or network admin. And with servers in over 75 countries, you can get unrestricted access to geo-blocked content from around the world. PIA comes with easy-to-use apps and browsers extension for all devices, a rock-solid privacy policy, open source security, advanced customization settings, and it was just ranked the fastest VPN in the world by PC Magazine. And if you sign up right now with PIA, you can take advantage of a special deal only for Safety FM listeners. Only by using the following link, you can get the digital privacy for less than $2 a month. Yes, you did hear me correctly, less than $2 a month, and an extra 4 months for free. So that means for only $1.98 a month and 83% off, you can get this service for you right now. That's so much more inexpensive than virtually every other VPN on the market. And if you get it right now, you can take PIA's 30-day risk-free challenge. You can try it out for 30 days, see if you like it, and if not, just return it for a full refund. So just go to safetyfm.com/VPN. That's safetyfm.com/VPN to try out the best VPN on the planet completely risk-free. Now remember, safetyfm.com/VPN.
Radio Big. Streaming 24/7 at radiobig.fm.
Safety Show. Hour numero uno of the Jing Allen in the Morning Show. That right there is Only Young by Lumando. Yep, there you go. You can give it a little stream on Apple Music, Spotify, or YouTube Music. So there you go, some options. Thanks to Lumando for allowing us to play this here on the Rated R Safety Show. So let's get moving, grooving, and all that other stuff. Oh, a full 44 minutes past the top of the hour as we are doing our thingo. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. And let's start talking about the most important thing that I will tell you ever in my lifetime. And that's about my friends at the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. They can help you prevent suicide. The Lifeline provides 24/7 free and confidential support for people in distress, prevention, and crisis resources for you and your loved ones, and best practices for professionals in the United States. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to 988lifeline.org. That's 988lifeline.org. Or you can text the word TALK to 988 or call 988. Yep, that's the way that it goes. That's the way that we set it up. And that is the way the cookie crumbles. So don't worry about any of that other stuff, because that is what we do around here and doing this and getting it all set up for you. So there you go. Anyways, with that being said, let's get moving and grooving with some other info, some other things, because that is what is going on. Listen, important to hang out with the people at 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. I never want it to sound like it's not important, because it is super important. We will talk about it every day because we are doing this show. And if you hang out with me in person, we kind of talk about it then too, because it's important to talk about. It really is. So let's start shooting some bull real quick. So let's do this. Well, it's a good thing that baseball season starts today. Literally. Why? New research suggests that if you're feeling alone or dissatisfied in attending live sports event, may help you improve your level of well-being and reduce the feeling of loneliness. Researchers at Britain's Angeli Ruskin University School of Psychology and Sports Science analyzed data from 7,200 adults and found that those who had seen any type of sports event live within the past year were more likely to say that they were satisfied and had a greater sense of life being worthwhile. Researchers observed that the same impact with loneliness. They say that the benefit received from attending a sports person incomparable to those of being employed. And the physical participation in sports also improves well-being and reduces loneliness. Hey, let's not get crazy here. And I don't see how they compare the benefits of going to watch a sports match with holding down a job. For one of them, I get paid. For the other, it costs me about 4 weeks worth of pay. I mean, I don't know. If you've been looking at ticket prices of anything lately, it seems like they're super expensive. And I mean, I guess that's kind of the deal. It just works out that way in regards of what is going on. So a lot of stuff there. So what else? Let's do this real quick. Let's go into the motivation minute a little bit earlier than normal, and let's get those things rolling your general direction right now.
The Motivation Minute is courtesy of InsuranceChicken.com. Today's quote was submitted by Dan. Nelson Mandela said, "The greatest glory in living lies not in never failing, but in rising every time we fall." What a great quote. If you've never failed, you've probably never tried much. I read a book from Al Newharth, the publisher who brought us the USA Today newspaper. He grew up in the same hometown I grew up in. Now, he was there a few decades before me, but in his book, Confessions of an SOB, he shared how important failure is. He failed at something in his 20s, and he believed that without this failure, he would have never had the ability to even try to build a national newspaper in the 1980s. But he did, because he knew what failure felt like, and he was able to step right past it. This has been today's Motivation Minute, courtesy of InsuranceChicken.com. They're known for insurance quotes. I'm John Small. Thanks for listening. Your favorite motivational quotes can be submitted for upcoming programs at motivationminute.org.
Your Wellness Minute is brought to you by AlysaMorgan.com. We all heard that brain shrinks with age, particularly the hippocampus and frontal lobe. For ameliorating at least some of these changes, exercise plays a huge role. When you exercise, profound molecular changes occur, inducing numerous beneficial cytokines and other factors that support immune health. One acute bout of aerobic exercise induced extensive changes in almost 10,000 molecules involved in energy metabolism, oxidative stress, inflammation, tissue repair, and growth factor response. Exercise is one of the enduring pillars of good health, with many benefits including powerful mood-enhancing to immune-boosting effects. When we exercise, the brain structure changes to accommodate. That is especially true in motor regions and areas that need more oxygen. For more information on wellness, check out AlysaMorgan.com.
Tearing ass out of you like gas station sushi.
This show is almost as enjoyable as hearing the sound of the toilet flush. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Okay, there you go. 49 minutes past the top of the hour as you and I are hanging out doing that thing that we do. That's for sure. So let's get into some more things, some more thingos, some things to talk about because there is a lot of stuff going on inside of this very interesting world of ours, just to say the least. At least that's the way that it comes across as we take a look into more and more things that are happening. So let's do this real quick. Let's start talking about, let's talk about Carol Baskin real quick, the animal rights activist who became a household name thanks to Netflix shows that it's shutting down her big cat rescue in Florida.
Carol Baskin's Big Cat Rescue near Tampa is sending its animal population to a sanctuary in Arkansas. Baskin's husband, Howard, says their campaign against petting zoos, including the one run by Joe Exotic and showcased in the Netflix series Tiger King, means fewer cats will need a refuge. Big Cat Rescue's population has gone from more than 100 a decade ago to 41 now. The Baskins plan to sell the land and use the money to fund efforts to save big cats in the wild. I'm Gordon Bird.
Okay, well, there you go. Well, right next to where that is located, I'll just make you reference to this, is a pretty big, shopping center. So I'm pretty sure that maybe if the shopping center wants to expand, they will have the opportunity to do so. So there you go in regards of what we are talking about. Anyways, let's talk real quick about some other things as we are going through. Attorney General Merrick Garland is being slammed for shutting down a number of grants requested to put more cops in small towns and schools.
They don't have any grant writers. They don't have any resources, and they've been putting it in. And guess what? They've been denied time and time again.
Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez of Texas says that now is the time that we need to invest in policing, especially in schools. He pointed to this week's massacre at a Christian school in Nashville. The A-G asked of Congress for at least $2 billion to grant for cops. Congressman Tony Gonzalez says the taxpayers is now the time that they should be investing in policing, not shooting down grants.
We just saw what happened in Nashville a couple days ago. Seems like every week there's something that's happening. I need your help.
So Gonzalez of Texas says the Nashville shooting is proof that the DOJ needs to invest in policing.
Your department has a reduction in cops and stop school violence grants. It boggles my mind.
So there you go. A lot of interesting stuff as we are talking. I hate it when people try to use their political agendas when you have something as terrible as what's happened in Nashville. But that's what seems to be going on in that case. The driver who is responsible for 9 car crashes in Long Island has been identified. The Long Island Beach Police Department says that Chaz Lamar Long of Antioch was the driver.
The suspect was injured during the traffic collision and he was transported. The female passenger was injured during the traffic collision. She was transported. They also had an infant child in the car who was transported to the hospital for evaluation.
The crash happened after a high-speed chase started at a Seal Beach around 8:15 on Tuesday night. The driver ran away from the collision but was stunned by a taser by the police and arrested. The woman riding as a passenger was among taken to the hospital, and there was also an infant in the car who was taken to the hospital for evaluation as well. One woman was killed and 9 others were hospitalized. Long was sent to Long Beach Police Department where they discovered that he had an outstanding federal no warrant for weapon violation. Hold on. A federal, I would imagine it says federal warrant for a weapons violation, but it says no warrant, which I'm assuming there's a mix up there. But hey, that's an assumption as we are talking. There you go. Some stuff going on right there as we are talking. Do you want some tax tips? Because I got somebody who wants to share some with you because we are getting close enough to the date. So let's talk about that. People looking for a quick tax refund have some options. Take a listen to what Natalie Gigliotti has to say.
Other than filing early, Certified Public Accountant Orrin Adler from New Jersey says there's another way to ensure a quick refund.
Absolutely the fastest and most compliant way to get a refund is electronic filing, either through your tax preparer or through free filing, but doing everything electronically and digitally is the fastest way to get your money back.
And how long could that take?
Usually the IRS will refund your money within 3 to 5 days. There's no assurance of that, but the money comes relatively quicker from the IRS.
It could come even faster if filers elect to receive the refund via direct deposit. Adler says those who file physical taxes could be waiting longer than 2 months to receive their refund from the IRS.
It could take the IRS snail mail can take anywhere between 2 weeks to 2 months or longer.
He notes filers will be waiting at least a month from the state. I'm Natalie Migliori, NBC News Radio.
Okay, thank you, Natalie Migliori, for the information right there, because it's always important when we can do anything with taxes and find out some other successful information on what we can do. So let's not lie about that as we are talking. Anyways, taking a look around at some things that happened back on this date. Let's take a look. Back in 2000, Richard Branson is knighted by Prince Charles at Buckingham Palace. He received the honor for services to entrepreneurship, for his work in retail, music, and transport, his taste for adventure, and his humanitarian work. That happened back in 2000. If you're looking at some birthdays for today, let's talk about that. Anita turns 30. Thomas Rhett turns 33. Cassie Skirbo turns 33. Richard Sherman turns 35. Sergio Ramos, 37. Justin Moore, 39. Noah Jones, 44. Celine Dion turns 55 today. Piers Morgan turns 58. Tracy Chapman, 59. MC Hammer turns 61. Eric Clapton turns 78. And Rolf Harris, yes, he turns, let's see, 93 today. Yes, 93. That is a number that I just said and shared with you. If you're looking at some days of the year to celebrate, I have some of those. It's National Doctors Day, National Pencil Day, National Take a Walk in the Park Day, and World TB 303 Appreciation Day. I don't know what that is, but maybe I should be appreciative for it, because sometimes those are the things that one should be appreciative to. So let's talk about this real quick, because it's coming down the wire right away. The Senate has voted to end the nation's COVID-19 emergency declaration. Take a listen to this.
On Wednesday, the GOP resolution was passed 68-23 to end the national emergency that's been in place since 2020. The bill is now on the way to the desk of President Biden. The president, who threatened to veto the measure twice in months past, now says he'll sign the bill, as the administration was already planning to end the emergency declaration on May 11th. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Okay, thank you, Mark Mayfield, for that one. So there you go. The FDA is greenlighting an over-the-counter sales of Narcan by late summer. Take a listen.
That means that the drug that reverses opioid overdoses will be available without a prescription. Narcan, which is administered as a nasal spray, is credited with saving thousands of lives over the past few years. The ongoing opioid epidemic killed 107,000 Americans in 2021, mostly from fentanyl overdoses. Emergent Biosolutions, the Maryland company that manufactures Narcan, hasn't disclosed an over-the-counter price, but nonprofit groups say it's likely to be about $47 for a 2-spray kit. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Okay, thank you, Mark Mayfield, for the information right there, letting us know exactly what is going on. Let's talk about this real quick. If you need a joke for today, I have one of those for you. So here it sounds something like this. A lot of people don't know this, but I actually am quite famous. If you need something for a phone starter for today, try this. Politics and religion aside, what is the dumbest thing someone has argued with you about? If you need something for the water cooler, try this. 44% of men say this first thing every time they notice when meeting a woman. What is it? Their hair. That's good to know. So there you go, some information. Anyways, top of the hour, I'll be going over to radiobig.fm if you want to come and hang out and do the things that we do over there. Always a good time as we are doing the things that we do. So there you go. Anyways, with that being said, this is going to end our time together. Thanks for hanging out, because I do appreciate it. Without you, it doesn't make a lot of sense to do what we do around here. That is for sure. Anyways, if I can't leave you with a deep thought for today, I would love to leave you with this one. We learn from experience that men never learn anything from experience. Think about that for a moment. Isn't that interesting on how some of that stuff kind of pans out? Just saying. Anyways, there you go. That sums up the show. Let me leave you with this. I will see you tomorrow, hopefully. Come with me at the top of the hour. I know who you are.
Duh.
You know who I am. Love you, mean it, and goodbye.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.